Welcome back. In our previous lecture, before we get to this place that we hear in this week, we are looking into Mr. Nanjadi. We have discussed everything about movement. Our movement lead us to irritability. Under irritability, which is the response to stimulus, we have looked at everything about nervous system. In this week, we know that the whole body of a living organism, either plant or animal, or any organism under 5 category classification by Whitaker, which is Monera, Protista, Plante, Fungi, Plante, Animalia. All those organisms, including animals, were under specific biological regulation. We call this regulation homeostatics. Homeostatics. Status means constant, like something is not changing. Homeo means environment. So when we are talking about homeostatics, we are talking about maintaining the constant internal environment of the living organism. That is to say, our normal constant internal environment has to do with our healthy state. There is no headache, there should not be headache forever. But at a particular point in time, there is a particular shift in the mechanism that regulates the living organism. In this lecture, we are going to see those mechanisms, and as a UTME examination preparer, you must be able to understand the patterns of classification on that discourse that we want to discuss today. We want to discuss everything about homeostatics. You must know everything under it as well as its classification. I told you that as a scientist, you are an analyst, and you must be able to work in a specific pattern. Once you understand the pattern that by which you work, analyzing your problem will not be anything to you. Now, let us look at this classification under homeostatics. Now, we have said that homeostatics can be defined as the process of maintaining the constant internal environment. But this homeostatics itself has 2 primary things. It has organ, it has system. We are going to look at how many organs are under homeostatics. The first is the kidney, followed by liver, followed by pancreas, followed by skin. These are the essential homeostatic organ. Of course, you may create an acronyms to remember them so that you'll be able to know them offhand. Or you can create an alphabetical order to know which organ is under particular alphabet. K, kidney. L, liver. P, pancreas. X, skin. The next one is the system. But you must understand that in every organism, there is something we call level of complexity. After organ is a system. You know, we have tissue above organ. Remember that classification, please. It's very, very important. So we have homeostatic system, which are what? Nervous system, which we have discussed, as well as endocrine system. And you will know that under nervous system, there are two broad branches: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And one of those things that I want you to recall very well, it is the patterns of classification of that nervous system, as well as the functioning of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. You should be able to know under which category they fall. They are very, very important. Now, when we under this course, we are going to discuss this one, which is endocrine system. An endocrine system, they are collection of glands that secrete hormone in minute amounts, and this secretion is targeted towards a specific organ. This secretion is secreted directly into bloodstream. There is no dot. That is to say, the secretion, let's say that this is a particular organ. That organ will look, okay, let me use a real life scenario. Let's say that this organ looks like a clot, a bunch of clots tied together, that is sink into water. That is zinc into water. Now, if you have that particular cloth sink into water and you hang it somewhere, what you will notice is that water will be drizzling. You will have some drop of water falling from this particular cloth that is sink into that water. Those organs in our body that we call endocrine organ, they are very minute, that some of them we can't even see them with our naked eyes. But they are there, hang somewhere, and they are producing secretion called hormone. This hormone, they produce it in a very small amount, but its effect is very eminent. It's very great. The effect of that hormone is very great. But this hormone, by the time they secrete it into blood directly. I will prepare a slide for you, a video slide for you, where you will be able to see our pipe in our body. That is our dot. One of them is blood vessels, and one of them are nervous system, all these nervous vessels. But the main one that carries all these liquid substances all around our body are lymphatic vessels system and nervous system, and that flow through lymphatic vessels, as well as circulatory system that flows through blood vessels. Now, those blood, they are inside vessels. Are you getting me? But these endocrine glands, they secrete their own secretion directly into the blood. The meaning of this is that, look at it. Imagine that this is a gland. That is to say, there is no pipe. There is no pipe that connects that gland with their target organ. Let's say this is a target organ here. There is no pipe that connects them together. That pipe is what we call duct. Duct means passage. Are you getting me? So there is no passage that connects them together. In fact, they are totally disconnected. They are totally disconnected. But when they secrete their organ randomly, when they secrete their hormone, are you getting me? Randomly, the hormone will flow through the blood to the target organ. And that particular hormone will bind with this particular target organ and exert its effect on the organ. Now, we say that endocrine glands, listen, they are a collection of glands that secrete hormone in minute quantity directly into the bloodstream towards target organ. These glands are hypothalamus, the one that is on, these glands are hypothalamus. Hypo means below thalamus. This one is below thalamus, followed by pituitary gland, followed by pineal body, followed by thyroid, followed by parathyroid. Para means beside. Adrenal, ad means toward, renal means kidney. The ovary, O means egg, ov means egg, eri means place, the place of egg. While the last one is the testis. This one is found in the female, while this one is found in male. Now, what we are talking here is that if you look at all these glands, there is a systematic listing from the top of living organism down to the lower part of the living organism. If in fact we use human in this case to list this thing out. Please, I want you to follow a specific pattern of listing your item so that you will be able to capture at least 90% of item in your list when they ask you to list something out in your examination. The brain has the overall control over the homeostatic process. This is a key point. Mechanism of substance regulation. Now, let's assume that you are under severe headache, God forbid, and this headache is just come up. You will be worried because if it is too much, you won't get yourself. You will now need to use particular drug in order to suppress the headache. The question is this: you have been using drug, and those drugs has been neutralizing the effect of your body reaction. Have you ever even bothered to ask, how does this drug exact their effect on your body? Now, do you know, I have been telling you this, that there are patterns in everything that you are doing. Some pattern follow inputs, some pattern follow inputs, followed by process, sorry for that thing, followed by process, this is CEXX, okay, followed by process, then followed by output, followed by output. So we have input, we have process, we have output. This is a pattern in some specific process. In some process, we have procurement. In some process, we have procurement. We have procurement, sorry. We have procurement. We have deploy. We have procurement, we have deploy. After deploy, we have maintenance. After deploy, we have maintenance. We have maintenance. After maintenance, we have expiration. Expiration. That is the time when that thing will be expired. So a sample of process that follow this particular procedure is very simple. Look at your building. At a particular point, when they want to roof it, they procure the roof. they deploy the roof, they maintain the roof by changing the one that is not good by replacing with another. Deployment of the roof is like that is when they are putting all those roofs on the building. Maintenance is when one of those roof is bad, they remove it, they replace another one. Expiration is when all the roof is bad and they remove everything and they replace it with everyone and all other one. So this is a particular procedure. This is another particular procedure in life. This is another procedure in life. But when it comes to regulation, what are the procedures that involve? Under regulation, the first thing is that in everything that you want to produce, because as a scientist, you will find yourself in manufacturing company or in area where you have to produce things. When you are producing things, you must be able to produce something that when the user is using that thing, they will have a flexible mode of using it without any fear or any problem using that object, and you are the one that will put everything in place. For example, if you are doing a thermoregulator is the one that regulates temperature. It should be able to on when temperature is low, and it should be able to off when temperature is high. The fact is that you need something that will sense the temperature. You need something that will switch off and on the temperature regulator. So the temperature regulator is under activator. Now, let me make this thing clear by looking at what we have in this place. The first entry point is this particular center body. Look at this center body. So we have substance producer in every organism. Let's take, for example, insulin. Insulin is hormone that regulates sugar level. Are you getting me? Insulin. So now, this insulin is produced by particular substance called alpha isolate of Langerhans. You are going to see it because we have two isolate of Langerhans. We have alpha, we have beta. Insulin is produced by alpha isolate of Langerhans. You don't know where that thing is. You are going to see it later in this lecture. So we have insulin. Insulin, it is a substance. Are you getting me now? And the substance producer is the alpha isolate of Langerhans. When that substance is produced, there is something that will sense that, oh, this substance has been produced. We call it sensor. That is to say, if you find yourself in an industry where they are producing things, there must be some materials, some things in life have sensor. Now, when substance is detected by sensor, sensor will trigger regulator. Are you getting me? This regulator can either activate activator or inhibitor. If it activates activator, this is what we call feedback mechanism. This is feedback activation. This is feedback inhibition. The one that goes towards the inhibition is called inhibition feedback. The one that goes towards activation is called activation feedback. That is to say, feedback, it is a process by which the result of a particular scenario, the result of an event is used to regulate that event. You see, the event here is the production of this particular substance. And that substance, it is the one that later results in regulation of its production. It is called feedback. Now, the meaning is that what has been produced, we put it back into the process. It's like we put it back into the process. That's what we call feedback. Are you getting me? Now, we have substance producer. That is number one. When substance producer is activated, it will produce substance. Are you getting me? When that substance is produced, it will be sensed by detector that, oh, this substance has been produced. Once detector is there, it will trigger activator. And when will it trigger activator? It will trigger activator if the substance is needed to be produced, so that activator will tell the producer to start producing. And if the substance is too much, it will tell inhibitor that to tell the inhibitor that, oh, look at, there is too much of this substance in this place, so stop producing this particular substance. So this is the overall procedure that works for us to maintain our constant environment, because I am a living organism. So this is the mechanism of substance regulation in terms of diagram that you are seeing. Now, negative feedback is a vital control mechanism for the body's homeostatics. This is a very important key point. Now, let us now see everything that has to do with mechanism of homeostatics, which is mechanism of regulation in action. Number one, what will happen? There will be substance secretor. Substance secretor is something that produces that substance. When substance secretor produces that substance, it produces in normal amounts. There will be an accident. In the accident, a factor will come in. That factor is called factor causing increase in substance production, and it will affect the substance producer to produce higher amount than normal of the substance. When that happens, what will occur? We are going to have higher level of that substance in the body of a living organism. When there is higher level amount of the substance, what will happen? The detector will detect the higher level, and it will tell the regulator. Detector will now call regulator that, whoa, look at, there is higher amount of substance. What will regulator do? Regulator will now call inhibitor, and inhibitor will act on the substance secretor. To what? To let it know that, oh, there is higher amount of this substance, so stop secretion. And when the secretion is stopped, the body will use the higher level of the substance until the level of that thing decrease to the normal level amount of substance. And when the usage continue, the normal level of substance can go down to lower level of that particular substance. Now, when that will occur, a factor causing decrease in amount will now trigger in. When this factor come in, it will cause this particular substance producer, are you getting me, not to like produce at all. So in this case, this particular factor that causes decrease in amount of substance will be responsible for depleting the level of this particular substance and bring it down. What happened? There will be low level of the substance in the blood, in the body of the organism. When there is low level of that particular amount, the low level detector will detect that there is low level, and it will call the substance regulator that, okay, substance regulator will now call substance producer it will activate the substance producer to begin producing the substance, and that substance will increase to higher normal, go back to normal amount of level. So if you can look at this diagram very well, what we are having here is two separate cycles. The cycle that has to do with what? Regulation under lower amount of substances, and the cycle that has to do with what? Regulation under higher amount of substances, where we have the normal substance in between the two mechanisms. Please, I want you to look closely at the two mechanisms in this particular slide very well. Now, let us now look at homeostatic organ. Kidney as homeostatic organ, homeostasis organ. That is the first one that we want to consider. What is kidney? Kidney has important function, and it is the bean-shaped organ that is located in the abdominal section of human being. But the way the position in the human being is different from position inside chicken. I believe you eat your Christmas chicken, try to cut it open and look at the kidney. It's different in the position inside ram. Those of you that do layer, or you can open your ram and try to look at the kidney position. But in human being, that is where it is in the abdominal region. So kidney has important functions that maintain homeostasis in the body, including regulation. It includes what? Regulating acid-base balance. That is number one. It regulates acid-base balance. How does kidney do this? We are going to look at it in this lecture. Number one, that is maintaining acid-base balance, the concentration of electrolyte, controlling blood pressure, and secreting hormones. That is how many? That is about 3. So maintaining acid-base balance, it also is responsible for concentration of electrolytes, and it controls blood pressure, as well as what? Number 4 is secreting hormone. There are some hormones that are secreted inside the kidney. We are going to look at the adrenal hormone. We have adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla hormone. We are going to look at them in this lecture. So kidney failure causes is very serious and possibility vital disruption of homeostasis in the body. Complications include weakness, shortness of breath, widespread swelling, edema. That swelling, it will occur in such a way that if you press the body of the person, there will be an impression in the skin. That is to say, the skin will go in, and it will take some time before it can go out. It can come out, sorry. Metabolic acidosis, as well as arrhythmias. Look at this word. Rhythms. This is the rhythms is like normal heartbeat. Are you getting me? Rhythms. When it comes rhythms, it means that A means not. Rhymes means beat. That is to say, no, the heartbeat is no longer normal. So if you look at the spelling very well, ARRHYTHMIAS, arrhythmias. That is to say, it's a condition where there is irregular heartbeat. The heart will be breathing faster at a point and be breathing slower at a particular point. So let us look at the first function, acid-base balance. Although most of this in-depth study may not be necessarily required in your examination, but they are very vital showcase the examination goes beyond level of your expectation. So you will have in-depth understanding of what you are doing. Acid-base balance. Along with the lungs, yes, the lung also do that. The kidney are the main organ for regulation of pH in the body. pH is the what? Level of acid and base. They do this by recovering and regenerating bicarbonate. I believe you know that bicarbonate is acidic in nature because of presence of hydrogen ion. So from urine, they will recover and regenerate bicarbonate from urine, so that today you will know that the urine that you are producing contain bicarbonate, and excreting hydrogen ion into the urine. You see, they will recover bicarbonate and excrete hydrogen ion into urine. The meaning of this is that this bicarbonate will be returned back into your body, while the hydrogen ion will be released out as urine. The kidneys uses the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. This is hydro. Means water. AXE, anything with AXE ending means enzyme. Anything with ASE ending means enzyme. Anything with OSE ending means sugar. Example is glucose, O's. This is anything with this means sugar, anything with this means enzyme. So, an means not, means carbonic and anhydrase, something that it has to do with removal of carbonic and anhydrase is a carbonic that do with removal of water. So this enzyme majorly function in removing excessive water to catalyze the reaction involving bicarbonates. You know that most of biochemical reactions are catalyzed by enzymes. That is to say, they are speeded up by enzymes. This is the same enzyme used in acid-base balance function in the red blood as well as stomach and pancreas. That is to say, whenever we are talking about acid-base balance, we should remember a particular hormone called carbonic anhydrase. It is present in kidney, it is present in stomach, it is present in pancreas. So many hormones have widespread of distribution in organ of living organism to perform their function. And this hormone, some of them are protein, peptide, steroid hormone. There are so many of their type. And they are enzymes. So enzymes are either peptide or proteinaceous in nature. Now, that is about acid-base regulation. What is taken away from this slide is that we have looked at one of the major functions of the kidney as acid-base regulation by using enzyme called carbonic anhydrase. Electrolyte concentration. Kidney also perform electrolyte concentration. That is, some of the electrolytes the kidney helps to keep in homeostasis are sodium, potassium, chlorides, carbonates, magnesium, copper, as well as phosphate. I don't know, maybe you have a situation where you have been given drip. The main function of the drip is to balance the electrolytes in the body of human being. You see, electrolyte balance is one of the major key factors that keeps human being alive. If it is malfunction, it can lead to total collapse of a living organism. For example, the hormones aldosterone and angiotensin 2, we are going to look at it, regulate the reabsorption of sodium from the renal filtrate and the excretion of sodium into renal collecting tubes, respectively. We are going to look at this in some diagram, but I want you to remember this so that when you see that diagram, you'll be able to say, okay, you'll be able to see what we are talking about. So this is our kidney. Okay, now. So let us look at this particular kidney here. Now, if you look at this is glomerulus. Look at this diagram. This is glomerulus. It's like a cup structure that contains the blood vessels that filter. This is this in the glomerulus. This particular here, this thing we call blood filter. It is the part of the kidney if you look at our kidney, look at this place. If you look at our kidney, there are some small section here. There are some small section here. All this section, they contain very tiny tubules clustered together. Are you getting me? And all these tubules, they are connected to blood vessels, either that carry blood away or that carry blood into. You will notice that in this input here, this one is going into the kidney. Are you getting me? And what is going to the kidney? It is summation of what? Hydrogen ion as what? Hydrogen carbonate. Do you remember during the, when we are talking about reabsorption, acid-base balance? So this is the acidic aspect of it. This is the basic aspect of it. So this both acid and base move together into the blood, into the kidney through the what? Renal artery. Renal is kidney. Artery is a pipe that takes blood into the kidney. So whenever you heard of artery, don't worry, you are going to see it. We are going to still analyze it. It is something that takes blood in, while vein is blood, something that takes blood out. So this one will take blood in, and this blood consists of hydrogen and bicarbonate. It will take it into the kidney through the red pipe. Are you getting me now? It will go into that, and the glomerulus is here. This glomerulus is a merge of blood vessels into the, so the extension of this is this. Can you see that? So what happened is that as the blood going, it will be filtered in this place, and during this particular process of filtration, hydrogen will go away and bicarbonate will not pass through this, all these vessels here. Are you getting me? So once the hydrogen go away, while the blood is coming out, what happens? Bicarbonate will return, but hydrogen will not return. That's the reason why you see bicarbonate here. So it has been reabsorbed back into the blood. So the bicarbonate goes away and it has been reabsorbed back into the blood. So during that process, so this is the glomerulus. I guess this is extension of the glomerulus. And how does it get filtered? What happened here is that, so here this one will go into the filter. So this bicarbonate is another bicarbonate entirely into the distal. It is going into the tubules, renal tubules. So inside the renal tubules, now let us magnify a little so that you can see what we are talking about. So this is the glomerulus. You can see the blood artery like that. So the blood artery here, this blood artery here leak. It is the one that passes all around this particular tube here. We are still going to look at the analysis of this particular renal tubules when we are studying kidney itself in a big diagram. So now, what happened? This is proximal distal tubules. So these are proximal. We have proximal and we have distal. This is proximal distal tubules. This is distal. These are the distal tubules. Look, listen to me. When something is proxy, when you hear the word proxy means near, distal means distance, far. Are you getting me now? We have tubules that are very near to the glomerulus. We call them proximal tubules, and we have tubules. Are you getting me? We have tubules that are very distant away. We call them distal tubules, and these tubules, they link into this particular collection here, and they will go into the bladder, into the bladder. So this pipe here link into our bladder where we have urine collection. There are many things that happen along this place. A lot of reabsorption, a lot of filtration into the blood. But what I want you to get right, it is the linkage from the what? From the kidney, from the kidney diagram into the glomerulus, how the glomerulus contain the filtration mesh, which are the blood vessels, and how that blood vessels is wrapped around our tubules that link into the urinary bladder. So you can see how the bladder is related to the kidney in our body system. So these are the major sectional area where that reabsorption takes place. And the reason why we focus into this is because of the presence of what? Acid and base balance regulated by our kidney. So this is what I have to show you, and you have seen it. So now we are talking about electrolytes. We are talking about electrolyte concentration, and you have seen that how this thing regulates electrolytes in our body. The next one that we have is blood pressure, extracellular fluid volume. Blood pressure, extracellular fluid volume. Let us see how kidney perform this particular action in place. So if you can listen, if you can see what I'm doing, you will see very well that all this explanation goes in order, and you must be able to put this thing in mind so that you will know how kidney regulates everything about living organism. Now, the kidney don't directly sense blood pressure. Kidney don't directly sense blood pressure. Heart responsible for pumping our blood, it is the one that determines the blood pressure. Now, but they act to regulate blood pressure over long term. That is not very close to the heart, you know. They do this via renin-angiotensin system. Renin-angiotensin system. This is what you are going to learn when you get to university. If you study any biological science course, they will teach you renin-angiotensin system that regulates the amount of extracellular fluid in the body, which in turn is regulated by the level of sodium in the blood plasma over time. Untreated high blood pressure can damage the artery around the kidney, leading to kidney disease. So that reason why if you see somebody with that is developing high pressure, the best thing that you can do to the person is to let them rest very well. Let them have enough sleep and rest. And if the person is involved in kind of thinking, let that person try to advise the person to let off the thinking so that it can come back to normal position. Okay. Now, we say that kidney also involved in hormone secretion. The kidney synthesizes two important hormones that help support homeostasis: erythropoietins and renin. Erythropoietin and renin. Erythropoietin stimulates the production of red blood cells because of the word erythro. Are you getting me? Poietos means production. So erythropoietin stimulates the production of red blood cells in the bone marrow. This happens in response to what? Normal turnover rate, lifespan of this cell, of the red blood cell, and in response to cellular hypoxia, lack of oxygen, when the tissue are not getting enough oxygen. While renin is both a hormone and enzyme. Renin is both hormone and enzyme. They may ask you, which of the following is both hormone and enzyme? So also known as angiotensinogenes. I'm so sorry for all this name, but as a scientist, you should be able to break it down. When we are talking about angio means what? Vessel. Tensin means increase or like turning up, increase something. Angiotensin, no genes. Gen means production. S means enzyme. That is to say, this is an enzyme that produce increase in blood pressure, an increase in vessels tension, like tension. Angio means vessels. Tensin means tension. That tension can be contraction of the vessel or relaxation of the vessel. Are you getting me now? It is used to help synthesize angiotensin 2. So that is to say, angiotensinogenase, it is the one that is involved in, it helps to synthesize angiotensin 2 that has several effects on body, ultimately leading to increase in blood pressure. Can you now see the way the word high, increase, come up? That increase is the tensile, high, tensi, tense, high, high, high. So that is what we call that. Angio means vessels, which is high blood vessels. Tenses, high. Then produce, ACE means enzyme. So if you can remember how these junk word morphemes are bind together, you should be able to remember the word angiotensinogenase. So this is a diagram of kidney that we have looked at all the time, and their important parts. So this is where they are located inside human being. If you are able to touch the lower part of your rib around this place, they are very close to that environment. So that is our kidney, and we have the very big vessels around our abdomen like that. So you can see that here, you can see this particular thing here. We call it urethra, the one that collects the urine from the kidney into the what? Into the bladder. This particular pipe, I know that you should be able to remember where it comes from and where it will link to. So that is the dot that connects the kidney to the kidney's urine store. The urine store is urinary bladder, and the passage where the urine will pass out is called urethra. Urethra, you see, urethra, urine and exit, urethra. So urine entry exit point is called urethra, while the sac that stored that urine is called urinary bladder, while the pipe that link the kidney to the urinary bladder is called urethra. You can see that if care is not taken, you will mistake urethra for urethra. So urethra is a dot that connects kidney to the bladder, while urethra, it is the one that leads to the outer part. It is the one that leads to the external environment. It is the dot that open for urine to go out from our body. So let us look at the diagram of the kidney. So we have the kidney, we have the outer part of the kidney, we have the inner part of the kidney. We have the inner part. So the outer part is called cortex, while the inner part is called the medulla, the pyramid part. And those pyramid parts, they are the one that contain the what we call glomerulus, where the urine filtration actually occurs. Now we have renal capsule. That is the line that enclose the kidney, renal capsule. So there are many vessels around the internal part of the kidney, but you should know that we have artery and vein. Because they are specific to the kidney, we call them renal. Renal means have to do with kidney. So inside this thing, there is a particular something here which is called calyx, and we have papillary of pyramid. So in case they ask you to label the kidney, I just want you to look at it very well before you undergo your labeling. So you can see the urethra. So the urethra is the one that collects the urine from the filtration glomerulus chamber. So it will collect the urine and lead it into the urinary bladder. So let us see what we have next in our diagram. So we have shown us this one in the previous lecture, while we are looking at how kidney regulates our acid-base balance. So that is that for that. So you can see that, okay, from this diagram now, you'll be able to see that the body of glomerulus, the extension of that body, it is the one that lead into what we call the urethra. You see, the urethra, not the urethra. Urethra, urethra. Okay, so and that's are the blood vessels around it that nutrate the tube themselves. And you know that we have distal glomerulus tubus and proximal proglomerulus tubus. Distal glomerulus tubus and proximal glomerulus tubus. Glomerulus, Glomerulus, glomerulus. So we are going to look at things later in this lecture. So after we have looked at the function of the kidney have disease. All of these organs that involve in hemostasis, they have their function and they have their disease. So we have seen the function of the kidney. Let us look at the disease of the kidney. Now look at this. The stream that flows in every organism body is called blood. Blood carries a lot of things, and it can be linked to the external world through the kidney. As blood passes through the kidney, it is filtered to eliminate toxic substances. So students, you can now see that if our glomerulus is faulty, it is possible that you will have blood in your urine. And waste materials, it helps us eliminate toxic substances as well as what? Waste materials. Waste materials in human body are ammonia, uric acid, urea, creatine, and amino acids. Excess quantities of salts and water that may be taken into the body. Imagine anything the way we understand this thing is anything that come out from your body as sweat, anything that come out from your urine, as well as anything that you defecate. Are you getting me? So look at those things. In fact, in your urine, there is some certain amount of salt. I don't know, maybe you can taste that. you can taste your urine. Just taste a little, okay? If you can try. And the various other organic materials produced by life-sustaining chemical reaction. The failure of the kidney to perform its regular function is due to kidney disease, which are, number one, glomerulus nephritis. That is to say, when the nephro are the tiny tube, they are the tiny tube inside the glomerulus. We have glomerulus nephritis. When you have the word itis means swelling or inflammation. And when that glomerulus inflates, the passage, the tiny hole in it, they will become very large. As a result, large particles will be able to pass through the glomerulus, which include blood and something that they are not supposed to pass through that tube. Are you getting me? We have kidney stone, we have diuresis, we have edema. All these names, you can search for their etymology in order to remember them without any fear. So this is a diagram that shows edema. That is, do you see that as they press the body of that person, the impression still remain there even after the hand has been removed. This is a classical situation of edema. So we have liver as homeostatic organ. We want to look at liver now. The liver is the main organ involved in homeostasis. The main organ involved in homeostasis is liver. That is a point. Don't forget, it makes up of 5% of your body mass, and it is a multi-lobed structure. That is, it has many lobes. If you have ever seen the liver of a cow, you will understand what it has many lobes. That is, many sections connected It has many sections connected together. So that's what we call many lobes. So, and it is just below diaphragm. You have seen diaphragm. This is, let me just see a diaphragm. So I think we should have it here. Oh, okay. It is around somewhere here. Diaphragm is around somewhere. Sorry, it's not shown because our lung is around this place. Yes, it's around somewhere like this. Yes, it is around somewhere like this. So the diaphragm is a compartment. It is a compartment separator that separates the upper part from the lower part in this place. So it is a flattening muscle, but it can curve in, but sometimes curve out. But mostly it take the shape of concave, not convex. So most time that muscle is a flat wall muscle that curve in. It's a flat muscle that can curve in. So that's so-called diaphragm. So they say that the liver is under the diaphragm. It is fast growing and damaged area heal quickly. The damaged area of the kidney heal quickly. But when you get to a particular point of your life, your liver cell will divide only once in a year for adults. Okay, the liver has a large oxygenated blood supply provided by hepatic artery. The hepatic portal vein, the one that take the blood away, supply the liver with product of digestion. That is to say, every product of digestion goes into the liver. So I think this is one point that you must understand very well as a difference between the functioning between the artery and vein in some area, in some organ. You remember that renal artery take the blood into, but renal vein take the blood out. But when it comes to the liver, we have hepatic portal vein. And we also have this particular hepatic artery. Yes, we have hepatic artery. Now, why do we call it hepatic? If it is kidney, we call it renal. The word liver, the Greek word for liver is hepa. So hepa. When we are talking about hepatogenesis, it means formation of liver. When we are talking about hepatodegradation, that is breaking down of liver cell. Breaking down of liver. So now, in this case, we have hepatic artery. Listen, the liver has a large oxygenated blood supply provided by hepatic artery. That is to say, hepatic artery, for the hepatic artery will take blood in. Are you getting me? So why the hepatic portal vein supply the liver with product of what? Digestion. So they don't perform the same function. Let me make this thing clear. When you eat rice, beans, whatever you are eating, they go into your mouth, down to your esophagus, down to your stomach. As they are going through those processes, their large molecules are breaking down into smaller pieces. They will go into from your stomach, they will get into your small intestine. From your small intestine in the ileum, some of them will be carried by lactic vessels, while some of them will be carried by all other blood vessels. The blood vessels that carry the broken down, the smallest unit of your digestive food. For example, the meat consists of very large entity of protein. It will be broken down to what? Amino acids. All these products of digestion will move into hepatic portal vein. So from a hepatic portal vein, they will move into the blood vessels. So from the blood vessels, they will be distributed into the body, muscles and bones and other organs. For example, let us look at carbohydrate. The smallest unit of carbohydrate is sugar, which is glucose. That smallest unit, when taken into the hepatic portal vein, it will go into the muscle, where it will undergo glycogenesis. But I want you to just put this into your mind, because I don't know, they may ask you hierarchy of food digestion. It is not stopped in your small intestine, ileum only, and some of that are excreted. You know, some will be excreted into outside world. That's one that they are not useful. But those ones that are carried into the portal vein from the ileum, which is a section in small intestine, into the body system, is one that we are talking about. And it is starting point for any metabolic process of the liver. So there are some metabolic process. Metabolus means broken down. So we can say metabolic means transformation. It is divided into two: anabolism, which is breaking down, and catabolism, which is building up. So metabolic process, metabolism, it is some total biochemical reactions that happens in the body of a living organism. It has to do with breaking down and building up. So this is our liver. This is this is our liver. This one is the artery, which is hepatic artery. This is the portal vein. Are you getting me? But in most cases, I like to call them hepatic portal vein. I like to call them hepatic portal vein. So you can also call it portal vein. So this is the bile. Are you getting me? This is the bile duct. A bile is a chemical that is produced from this gallbladder. Are you getting me now? So, and it performs the function of emulsification of fat. And its secretion is directly secreted into the small intestine, where this action is taking place. So we are going to see that this is aorta, which is the large artery, and this is vena cava, which is a large vein. So these two things here, aorta and vena cava, they are the ones that lead into the heart directly. They goes into the heart. Are you getting me? So for blood circulation, blood circulates through the body and leak into several organs in our body system. So when we are saying that liver has many lobes, that is to say, you can see this division of line here. So that is one sectional lobe. Another sectional lobe is this one here. So these two lobes is one that is visible according to this diagram perspective. So this diagram focuses to the aorta as well as the vena cava that goes into the heart. So here it is the diagram of the gallbladder that's produced the bile, and that bile will move to the bile duct, where it is secreted into the small intestine. So here it is a hepatic artery and hepatic portal vein. So just like that. I'm back. Okay. There is something that I think I should see in this place, but it is not obvious. So it is not obvious at all. So now we are going to be seeing sometime coming. So there is something I want to show you, and I would like to look for it here so that you will see what I'm trying to talk about. Yes, this is it. Sorry. You can see that okay, this one is pancreas, it's not here. Then I'll have to show you in the next lecture, but not in this place. So, but what we are interested in here is that we have seen the overall structure of a liver and everything that surrounds the liver. You should know that inside liver there is a particular organ that is attached to it, and that organ is called gallbladder. So this is some internal section of the liver. This is the portal vein, this is hepatic artery. So these are several cells that we have within there like that. So let us look at liver structure. Hepatocyte is the liver cell. Hepato means liver, cyte means cell. The main liver cells, which are highly metabolically active, which divide and replicate, it is called hepatocyte. We have sinusoid. Sinusoid, their sinus means space between hepatocyte, where blood from the hepatic artery and portal vein mixed to increase the oxygen content of the substrate-rich blood, allowing hepatocytes to remain active. We also have Kupffer cell. Like macrophages, ingest foreign particles. So any particles that enter your stomach, like unwanted microorganisms, this Kupffer cell is responsible for getting rid of them. So they protect the liver from disease found in sinus. We have canaliculi. Canaliculi means small canal, space in the liver where bile is secreted. There are two spaces now. We have sinoids. We have sinusoid. This is space between hepatocytes, space between cells, two cells or a group of cells of hepatocyte, liver. So we have canaliculi, which is also small canal, which is space in the liver where bile is secreted. We have hepatic artery, which you know, hepatic artery is the artery which supply oxygenated blood to the liver. So we are looking at the component of the liver now. We have hepatic portal vein, which supply blood rich with digestive products from the metabolism. We have hepatic vein. We have hepatic portal vein. We have hepatic vein. Vein which remove the oxygenated blood, lysine. Hepatic portal vein, it is the one that supply blood rich with digestive products. But hepatic vein, it is the one that remove the oxygenated product. Hepatic artery, it is the one that supply oxygenated products. Oxygenated blood into the liver. You know, liver also need oxygen to function very well. And this oxygen are supplied by blood. And how does blood supply it? When oxygenated blood is coming, it will leave that oxygen in liver and it will move away as deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood comes through the artery, which is a hepatic artery, while the oxygenated blood move away from the liver through the hepatic vein, which remove the oxygenated blood. So hepatic vein remove deoxygenated blood. We have bile duct, the channel which transport bile from the hemoglobin to the gallbladder. So gallbladder is a sac, which bile is stored. Okay, we have falciform. This falciform is a shape something like in nature, but I want you to look at the etymology of falciform online so that you can know what it is like in nature. Falciform ligament, a ligament which separates the left and the right lobe of the what of the liver. So we have the left lobe and the right lobe. We have portal triad, which is between each hepatocyte is a triad of portal vein, artery, as well as bile duct. You see, portal triad, three. There are three things in there. So triad of portal vein, artery, and bile product. So there are three things: portal vein, artery, and bile duct. So all of them are ducts. They are vessels. The portal vein, the portal artery, as well as bile duct. So these are the portal triad. Portal means gate, something like entry point. Entry, or it is just like a gate, entry and exit. You know, a gate allows entry and exit. So in liver, we are talking about the three major ducts, which is what? Artery, vein, and bile duct, which drain into and out of the central vein of the hepatocyte to transfer substances via diffusion. What are functions of the liver? It includes one, carbohydrate metabolism. It involves in breaking down and building up carbohydrates like that. We have hepatocytes are closely involved in homeostasis, control of what? Blood sugar level. When blood glucose level rises, insulin level rise and stimulate hepatocyte to convert glucose to what? Glycogen for storage. When blood sugar level drops, glycogen level rise and stimulate glucose and stimulate hepatocyte to convert glycogen into glucose for use in reaction. So you must note that there is conversion from glycogen to glucose and from glucose to glycogen by insulin and glucagon. Deamination of excess amino acid. It will remove excess amino acid. So number one, most plasma protein are synthesized in the what? In the liver. Most plasma protein are synthesized in the liver. Transamination is the conversion of one amino acid into different amino acid. Are you getting me? So maybe by internal rearrangement or by decarboxylation, maybe by decarboxylation or deamination. So this is important as diet does not always contain the required balance of amino acid. Deamination is the removal of amino acid from amino group. They remove amino group from amino acid. At this level, don't mind this particular section. When we get to that chemistry, you understand what is the meaning of this. As the body cannot store excess proteins and aminos, excess will be wasted unless hepatocyte remove and detoxify the amine group, then allowing for amino to be broken down for energy. We have detoxification, removal of poison in the body. This is one of the major important of our liver. It is also involved in drug metabolism and many other things like that. Okay, you can read through this and try to figure out what is in there. We have pancreas as homeostatic organ. Pancreas is also an homeostatic organ. The pancreas is an organ located in the abdomen. It plays a essential role in converting the food we eat into fuel, into energy for the body cell. The pancreas has two main functions. Number one, exocrine function that helps in digestion, as well as endocrine function that regulate blood sugar. So this is our pancreas. Are you getting me? This is our pancreas. Okay, this is our bile duct. This is what I want to show you other time, that our bile ducts are the product of the bile ducts. So the product of the bile is portrayed through the bile duct into the small intestine. This is our duodenum, part of the small intestine. You can see that this is the entry So this is the exit of that particular dot. So that is it, you can see. So but this is the pancreas as a whole. It has two cells. So it has two cells, which is what? Alpha cell and beta cell. So this one is called alpha islet of Langerhans, and this is pancreatic islet. So these are the pancreatic islets. So the islet is either beta with the white one, as well as the alpha, which is the colored one. So in that scenario, you have all these things that are in there. We have acinar cells, secrete digestive enzyme. These are the acinar cells. So all I want you to note in this place is the major focus area, which is the pancreas, that's responsible for both endocrine and exocrine action in maintaining our body system. So we have pancreatic hormone, which is insulin and glucagon. I told you that we have insulin and glucagon. The insulin is produced from the what? Alpha islet of Langerhans. So while the glucagon is produced from the beta islet of Langerhans. So, and that is the spleen. This is the spleen. It is not kidney. It is not kidney. Do you see? The spleen is very close to the pancreas like that. So that is the sectional area of the islet of Langerhans. And that is the sectional area for dot exit of our particular bile that we're talking about. So the pancreas secretes insulin and glucagon, both hormones, work in balance to play a vital role in regulating blood sugar level. You can now see that. You can now see the reason why pancreas is an homeostatic organ. If the level of one hormone is higher or lower than the ideal range, that is normal range, blood sugar level may spike or drop. It may spike high or drop or fall. Okay? So the pancreas secretes insulin, alpha cell of islet of what? Langerhans, do you see? And glucagon from the beta cell of islet of Langerhans. Both hormones work. We have seen what they do. They work together to regulate, to maintain sugar balance. When the sugar level is high, insulin will come into action and convert excess sugar into glycogen. Are you getting me? When sugar level is high, you can notice this. You can put this in as an acronym. Sugar level high. Okay. Insulin converts glucose to glucagon. Although GG may not have any effect. Are you getting me? But this thing that I want you to note, SHIC, S-H-I-C, SHIC. Are you getting me? Are you getting me? SHIC. Sugar level high, insulin convert. Sugar level high, insulin convert. What will it convert? It will convert glucose to glucagon. But what we want to note here is that sugar level high, insulin will come into action. But when sugar level low, glucagon will come into action. SLG, glucagon will come into action, converting the stored glycogen into glucose, and it will break them down into glucose. I must let you know that glucose is just a unit. Are you getting me? Glucose is just a unit. But glycogen is many tie of this particular glucose, many of them tied together, so this is glycogen. So this is glucose. Are you getting me? This is glycogen. Are you getting me? This is glycogen. Please don't do the mistake between glycogen and glucagon. They are not the same. Glycogen is a polymer of glucose. Are you getting me? Glycogen is a polymer of glucose. So now, both hormones work in balance to play a vital role in regulating blood sugar level. If the level of one hormone is higher or lower than the ideal range, blood sugar level may spike or drop. The body converts the carbohydrate from the food into glucose, a simple sugar that serves as vital source of energy. We are still going to look at digestion, and we are going to look at how our glucose is converted to energy. And I told you that energy is a chemical called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So this is the insulin and glucagon keep sugar level balance, and this is the reaction. Of course, if you can commit this particular reaction into memory, you will not do the mistake of functioning of insulin and glucagon. Insulin is a hormone, glucagon is a hormone. Insulin will convert glucose into glycogen, but glucagon will convert glycogen into glucose. You can see from glycogen to what? To glucose, that is glucagon. Insulin from glucose to what? To glycogen. You can see the direction of the arrow in the chemical reaction. So pancreas as homeostatic organ is the most important things that we need to note very well because of our sugar level. Many people suffer diabetes today, and diabetes results from the fact that insulin production is no more there, maybe because of the fact that how far instead of Langerhans cell is having problem and is unable to produce insulin that should convert excess sugar into glycogen. So many people that suffer diabetes excrete large amount of this sugar from their urine, and a lot of problem is associated with this particular excretion. Insulin deficiency, what does it cause? It causes diabetes. Diabetes means across sweet. Dia means across, betos means sweet. That is something that has, because the sugar that we excrete is sweet something. So are you getting me now? This is broken down of meaning of diabetes. So there are two types of diabetes. We have mellitus, which is sweet, and insipidus, which is nice sweet. No, not sweet. This is not sweet. Not sweet. Insipidus. Maybe it's bitter or not sweet. So diabetes insipidus have type 1 and type 2. But what I want you to take away in this place is this particular classification. Are you getting me now? We are still going to look at it, but not in this particular scenario. So this is the end of this today class. You are going to have some exercise after this class. Please offer the exercise and study your past question that focus on homeostatics, that look at organ as homeostatics. Maybe you will be able to get what you have studied or not. Especially look at the function of the kidney, look at the function of the liver, look at the function of the pancreas, which are the first three organs that we consider under homeostatics. Thank you for listening. ABP.